Thanks, Taylor. It's so good to be together today, everybody. Welcome to CEP Community's Live's yoga session for the month of January. And we've been talking at the Cognitive Empowerment Program in the month of January about new beginnings and goal settings. January can be a great time to just renew a commitment to doing something good for your brain health or something good for your body. And it's one of those times of year that we also want to not just renew our commitment to new beginnings and new starts and new goals, but also to review and renew our commitments towards compassion, talking to ourselves with encouragement the way a good friend would. And one of the simplest ways that we can step into that together is just by practicing. So we're going to do that a little bit today. We're going to practice a little bit of accessible chair yoga. You can see behind me, I've got a chair ready. And it's really the only thing that you're going to need today is a chair that doesn't roll around the room. So go ahead and get your chair together and let's have a seat. You can see I've got a chair that doesn't have arms, no wheels to make things nice and simple. Slide your shoes off. And if you're okay for where you're at to take your socks off, you might go ahead and do that. So you can start to get a little bit of sensory feedback from the soles of your feet. There's so many little nerve endings there on the soles of our feet. And if you think about it, it's also the foundation of where balance begins. So when we're talking about new beginnings, we're really talking about getting back to basics. One of the things that can be such a game changer, such a life changer in getting back to basics is just this idea of the simplicity of sitting and breathing. Thich Nhat Hanh writes about this a lot in his book, Peace in Every Breath, that we've been kind of focusing on a little bit in our yoga program this month. And so we'll do that with some movement involved a little bit to break up some of the stagnation that can build, especially when we're starting something new. Go ahead and bring your feet down to the floor and notice the space in between your feet. Separate your feet about hip width distance apart. When your feet are that wide, your knees may want to knock into the middle or go out and splay to the side, but see if you can also bring your knees to that hip width distance apart. So we get the bones kind of neutral in the places that they belong, in these little sockets here in our legs. Yeah, with a strong foundation and your feet on the floor, see if you can lift the front of your feet up and lower them back down to the ground. You might keep your heels attached to the floor. And if anything I offer today doesn't work for your body, whether it's because of an injury or just something simple that you're dealing with on an everyday basis, take the things that work for you that I offer and feel free to leave the rest behind, right? Listen to your body. It's such a better teacher than me. And then next time you bring your feet to the floor, see if you can just lift your toes up. Yeah. Keep the rest of your foot flat. The front of your foot and the back of your foot stays grounded down to the ground. Yeah. One more, toes up. And then see if you can lift up one heel and then switch to the opposite leg. Lift that right heel up, lower it back down, and let's go back and forth a few times. You might notice that you feel a little bit of engagement in your calves. Maybe even a little bit of a stretch in the arches of your feet and the tops of your feet a little bit. And maybe as you get into some of these basic stretches, there's also a little bit of tenderness that arises in places. That's okay to notice too. Bring your feet down flat to the floor, back to that hip width distance apart. And let's do some weight transfers over to the left side. And then all the way over to the right side. Yeah, coming out of center, keep your feet on the floor as you lean to the side. And then notice the strength of your low belly muscles that are able to pull and support you coming back to center there. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in your low back. You might feel it in all these places that connect your rib cage to the top of your hips there, all the little muscles that stretch and wrap around our rib cage. One more on this last side. On your next inhale, come all the way back to center. And I want you to slide your hips up to the edge of your chair a little bit. So you've got a little bit of space behind you in the chair. Already, you might notice that you have to recruit some of those low belly and back muscles to sit up like this a little bit. We want that little bit of engagement and challenge. See if you can sit up a little bit taller, noticing your posture. Bring your hands to the tops of your knees. Straighten your arms a little bit. You can see my elbows aren't bent here. I want you to kind of straighten them out so you can lift your chest up. Take a big breath in. And exhale, transfer your weight forward, maybe lean forward. Inhale, come all the way up. And let's lean back into that space behind us in the chair a few times. Exhale forward. And as you breathe in, come all the way back up. Let's do some of these rocking chairs, starting to link and synchronize our movement with our breath a little bit. See if you can breathe out as you lean forward. As you inhale, let your breath come in as your body comes all the way back up. Yeah. Exhale forward. Inhale back. As you lean forward, you might notice that stretch all the way down through your low back. And the next time you lean back in your chair, you might pause here and hold for a moment until you feel some of those low belly muscles start to fire a little bit. Hold and breathe as you engage those muscles for 3, 2, 1. Come all the way back up. Take a big breath in and reach your arms up overhead. Exhale and pull your hands all the way back down through center. Let's start to slow down and smooth out our breaths a little bit. As you get into your shoulder, bring your hands down and see if you can stretch out all the way through your chest and your upper back. On this next inhale, stretch your arms up overhead and reach up. Exhale back to center. 3 more, just like that, starting to move with your breath here. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead, maybe look up. Exhale, hands to center. Almost like these breaths could come in and clear out our body and give us a fresh start for the day that's left. Exhale and let all that tension release a little bit. Very nice. Shake your fingers out, loose fingertips, loose wrist a little bit. Get some of the blood flowing into your hands. We don't want to see rigidity when we do these movements here. We want to see kind of loose wrists, loose elbows. Yeah. Interlace your fingers all the way to the webbing. Stretch your palms out straight in front of you for a little summit stretch. You might start to play around with straightening your elbows until you come to a stretch that feels doable. With feet planted on the floor, you could stay here just like this, or you might inhale and stretch your arms up overhead, or as much as they're willing to go in that direction. And here we come to a little bit of a crossroads. You might find some difficulty to breathe with arms up overhead and this big stretch through your whole body. But see if you can meet this moment with some softness. Maybe soften your face a little bit. Let all those expressions across your face go and see if you can find a compassionate breath or two to invite in. Just a big full breath in and a nice release out. One more just like that, a nice full breath in. You might even lift your chin up out of your chest to open up the back of your throat. And exhale and gently release. Woo! You feel all of that blood kind of rush back into your hands a little bit. It might feel like a little bit of a tingling or even a numb sensation. And with arms up overhead, our heart has to kind of pump all that blood all the way up and back. So we're even getting a little bit of a cardiac workout there with arms up overhead. Let's continue working on this upper shoulder girdle a little bit to kind of break up some of the tension that builds when we sleep at night or when we get inactive during the day. See if you can shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Take a big breath in through your nose. Exhale out of your mouth with a sigh. And notice that release as we breathe out. A nice release of the tension that can sometimes build up for us. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhale, shoulders shrug up to your ears. A little hold at the top and a big exhale out of your mouth. Release some of the pressure. Last one, big breath in, shoulders up. Exhale out of your mouth, a big sigh. And let those big breaths out be a little reset. Sometimes we want to pull this big bag full of the past into the present all the time. We're thinking about remembering and being nostalgic about the way things used to be when we bring our attention to the past. And some of us, we really stuck in focusing on what's happening next and planning and predicting the future. But in those big sighs, those full body sighs, it's almost like we're bringing our body into the present moment and releasing a little bit of the expectations that we might have about the future or the past. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more with this low body. Now that we've got our upper body warmed up and our lungs starting to work and integrate a little bit, let's get down into these legs. If you've ever had a big fall in the past year, you know about how important lower body strength can be. So let's work on that a little bit. Stretch your left leg out in front of you. And you can see one knee is bent, but I've got this left leg kind of stretched out a little bit straighter. Point your big toe up to the ceiling, flex your left ankle, and then point it a few times. Yeah. Get a little bit of movement, not just through your ankle, but also through your toes. As you flex your foot, open those toes up. And as you point your foot, you might imagine squeezing your toes together. Yeah, one more just like that. And then let's do a few windshield wipers side to side. Really nice. Notice as you sit here and do your windshield wipers in your legs, if you can feel this in your outer hips or anywhere in your inner thighs. Yeah. You might have some nerves that get stuck in those muscles along the way. We're kind of loosening those up a little bit. Flex your foot, come all the way back to center. Bring your arms alongside your torso and sit up nice and tall. With an inhale, stretch your arms up overhead and find a little bit of strength in those low belly muscles. Tone your low belly. And then exhale and keep that. See if you can keep a little lift in those low belly muscles to support your back here. As you drop your hands down that left leg, you only have to walk your hands down far enough to feel the stretch in your back or in the back of your leg, maybe both. Take a moment to settle here. Let your shoulders relax. Find your breath. And this breath that we're working on has this incredible ability to bring us into the present moment. But it also is the signal to our body to release stress. This deep breath kind of signals that rest and recovery state in my nervous system to activate a little bit. And this last breath or two, you might even soften your face and let your face just kind of drop a little bit more expressionless. Yeah, let your expressions just kind of melt away here. There we go. On your next inhale, walk your hands all the way back up your leg. Come all the way back up to a seat. Slide your left leg back to meet your right and switch. Stretch your right leg out in front of you. Flex your foot. Point your big toes up to the ceiling. And just a few flex and point here so you can get some movement all the way down, not just in your ankle and the arch of your foot, but you may feel this a little bit in your upper leg. Yeah. We want these feet to be well coordinated. We want to be able to step over the dog and the cat in the house. Yeah. Get some windshield wipers in that that right foot side to side. Yeah, like we're making and drawing a rainbow with our foot. Yeah. Come all the way back to center. Flex your foot. Take a big breath in and reach up. Exhale. This time, walk your hands down the right leg. Take that leg and low back stretch. If you like the leg stretch, you can get a little bit more into the intensity of this by flexing your foot a little bit, even straightening that right knee to your capacity. But notice if things have gotten a little bit too intense. You might need to bend your knee or find a little bit softer version if you find any discomfort other than just a dull ache. A little dull ache is totally okay here. But that signal of sharp or aching pain, that sharp shooting pain is our signal that we've gone too far. Make that compassionate choice for yourself as you find just the right spot without going too far here. Take 2 more big breaths in and out. On your next inhale, come all the way back up. Bring your torso back up, right? Slide your feet back side by side. And bring your knees back and forth like a windshield wiper, as though we're skiing down a big mountain, to loosen up these hips a little bit and get some movement into this hip socket. Yeah. Very nice. We've got all these big major joints warmed up. We've warmed up our shoulders. We've warmed up our legs and our hips a little bit. Let's cross over into this workout. One of my mindfulness teachers used to say, every breath is another chance to turn it all around. Meaning that each breath is this reminder that we can start over whenever we choose. We can make new goals, new priorities, and new actions based on what we need at any time. So with that in mind, if what I'm offering doesn't work for you, feel free to find a little bit more comfortable version that does. But I'll try to offer some different options along the way. Walk your feet out a little bit wider. Yes. A little wider than the legs of your chair, a little wider than your hips. Yes. Turn your big toes out slightly towards your pinky toes. So you get this little bit of an external rotation in your thighs here. And the knees kind of want to drop down a little bit. They almost naturally want to do that. See if you can imagine stretching your knees out towards your pinky toes. Ooh, that changes things. Automatically, you might feel a little bit of engagement of these outer hips. Maybe the stretch and the strength of your inner thighs here. Keep all 10 toes planted on the floor. Take a big breath in and reach up. Exhale, hands to center. 2 more, just like that. Inhale, arms up overhead, strong legs. Exhale, hands together. Last one. Inhale and reach up. Exhale, come all the way back down to hands on hips. Tone your low belly. Find a good posture here. Use the muscles of your belly and back to stack your head right over your hips as much as you can comfortably. Take a big breath in. Stretch your right arm up overhead. Straighten your arm. Bring your fingertips together. And exhale over to the side. Inhale, big breath in, back to center. Exhale to reach. Very good. Big breath in. Notice that strong belly, strong back activating for you. Inhale up. Exhale to stretch. Last one, big breath in. Exhale to reach. On your next inhale, come all the way back up. Exhale, hand to hip. Breathe in, stretch your left arm up. Nice stretch up as far as you can comfortably, and then exhale over to the right. Inhale up. Exhale, reach to the side, and your legs are very active here. You may feel like they're doing nothing, but they're definitely toning and pressing into the floor to keep you grounded here. Inhale up, last one, and exhale to the side. Inhale, come all the way back to center. Exhale, release. Walk your feet back in side by side. Woo, we feel that in the hips after that, right? I know I did. So we want those outer hips to be able to engage and squeeze in. You can imagine moments in the house where we're kind of cooking dinner or doing whatever, and we kind of start to fall to the side, that those outer hips and the low belly muscles are what catches us and helps us recover from not falling all the way. It's that, back to center. So we'll play around a little bit. One more round with these low belly muscles. And this time we're going to get the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain talking to each other. So let's do that with some opposite arm, opposite leg movements. With your hips at the edge of the chair, find that nice supported posture. Very good. Stretch your left hand out in front of you, palm facing up. And keep that hand in line with shoulder like we're asking for gas money. Big bills. Come up onto your right tippy toe. Already, you may feel these upper leg muscles having to engage and coordinate with your low belly to stay on a tiptoe here. Some of us may stop and stay here, or you might challenge yourself by floating that right foot away from the floor. And again, opposite arm, opposite leg. I've got left hand, right foot lifted. You could stay here or reach down and pull that knee in towards your chest in these last few moments, whatever works for you. Take a big breath in, lift your chest up. Exhale, lower that right foot back down to the floor. Cross your left hand all the way to the right side of your body. Grab onto whatever you can grab onto, maybe that right leg. And we're going to do a little seated twist. Start to turn your chest to look over your right shoulder behind you, like you're looking for somebody on the street. See if you can turn towards the right. Get that little twist all the way up through your spine, through your low back, middle back, and even through your upper back here as you turn to look behind you. You might feel that stretch all the way through the left side of your neck. And that's what we're looking for. Soft shoulders, big breath in and out here. Come all the way back to center. Ooh, those twists are a moment of difficulty. And you can imagine in my twist, I'm putting pressure on all my organs and all of the little intelligent things that are working together in my body to help me operate efficiently. And when we do those twists, I say it's almost like we're wringing out a wet dish rag in our body. We're almost kind of twisting and pushing all the old blood and lymph fluid out. And when we unwind from the twist, we have some fresh fluid and blood come back in. Might even feel a little bit off center after only doing one side. And I want you to know that when we do the twist, it's also a little bit harder for our lungs to breathe fully. When we're twisting, we're putting pressure on our belly, our liver, our kidneys, our lungs. And so it might take a little bit more effort to breathe in deeply in that twist. So let's do the same thing second side, thinking about that deeper, fuller breath. Bring your hands to your hips and reset your posture. Nice tall back helps to work on the muscles that support good posture over time. With an inhale, this time stretch your left arm up overhead and reach up. Actually, nope. Stretch your left arm out in front of you, like we're asking for that gas money. There we go. Palm facing up. And this time, come on to your right tippy toe. Nope, that's the side we just did. Let's do the same thing, second side. With a fake out, stretch your right hand out in front of you. And this time, come up onto your left tippy toe. Whatever side you didn't do, come to opposite arm and leg here. Yes. You could stop and stay here, or again, float 1 foot to hover. And you'll notice the strength of the low belly and the legs working together here. Some of us may stop and stay here. You might pull that knee in towards your chest, only if it's appropriate for your hips and body today. Wherever you're at, take one more big breath in and try to soften those shoulders down away from your ears. Let go of the unnecessary tension. Exhale, lower that foot back to the floor. Reach all the way across your body over to the opposite side. And see if you can turn your gaze over to the left to look behind you here, or whatever side you're on is great. You can use the strength of your belly to help support you into a deeper twist. But you could also press your hand and your leg together to help push yourself into a little bit deeper twist. Only if it feels good for your body. See if you can find the deeper breath here. Two more breaths, just like that one. Let your lungs stretch out into your rib cage. And then exhale and very gently unwind. Whew. You might have to take some stretches that feel natural after that. Yeah, it's a big twist there, a big sensation to go into those twists. And one of the things that yoga teaches us is the capacity to sit in and with the things that are difficult. To sit with the things that are difficult. And that's one of the things that starting fresh or starting over can open a doorway for is, can I sit with what is as it is here and now without having to control and fix and manage things. And sometimes in the journey of experiencing life after a diagnosis of memory loss or cognitive challenge, it can be a big struggle to find acceptance along the way. It may be something we spend the rest of our lives working towards, this seed of acceptance that we plant in ourselves. One of the ways that we show up to water that seed of acceptance time after time after time is by doing things that are compassionate for ourselves, like this practice, doing the things that are good for our brain and our bodies, that nurture us, are part of that call to action that acceptance and compassion can sometimes manifest in our lives. So wherever you're at on your journey, know that it's just that. It's a journey. But when we're compassionate with ourselves, when we give ourselves the same encouragement and self-talk that a good friend would offer us, that is offering self-compassion. So we get into difficult things in our yoga practice. Notice when negative self-talk arises, that might show up in frustration, like, why can't I do this? What is happening? And I'll challenge you to balance that out with a compassionate thought. Yoga philosophy invites us that when a negative thought arises, may I balance it out and consider the opposite to be true. Quite a paradox that yoga invites us into. And certainly the challenges in our lives and the things that we cannot control do that as well. So we want to offer a little bit of a dual tasking exercise that a lot of our members have come to appreciate here in the Cognitive Empowerment Program. It's something that they came up with themselves and kind of have been workshopping a little bit, and I'll offer it to you now. In cognitive challenges, dual tasking is one of the things that we know helps to build some resilience for being able to do those cognitive challenges a little bit better and practice them over time. Just like riding a bike, like anything else, it gets a little easier with practice. One of the things that's encouraging in a journey of memory loss is that the part of your brain that's experiencing not being able to recall information is not the same part of your brain that experiences how to build your muscles and work on balance and things like that. So showing up to a regular practice, whether it's lifting weights or walking or sitting quietly and breathing, is one of the ways that we can invest into that self-compassion. So we're going to do that here with a little bit of dual tasking. I'm going to come just a little bit closer so you can see my hands so we can demonstrate it. We'll start out with the first task, which is going to be these little bit of finger taps. So with your hands resting on your lap, we're going to bring the thumbs to touch the pinky fingers. That's number one. Number two is the ring finger. Number three. And then number four. Let's practice that a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see after the 4, we go all the way back to 1 and start over again. Yeah. And I'll just let you practice that. You might notice that the tendency is to naturally want to look down at our hands and know that they're doing it right. But see if you can look straight ahead and instead use the information that is provided to you at your fingertips touching to know that you're doing it right. Or if you mess up the order and it doesn't seem like you're doing it in the right order, it's okay. We can just keep going. It's not a big deal. See if you can just keep going in whatever order that works for you. Yeah. One more round, and then we'll add the second task. All right, shake it out a little bit. Very nice. One of the phrases that works in our program is a reminder that compassion is something we can build from the inside to share out. And that starts with one of our favorite phrases in the Cognitive Empowerment Program. Peace begins with me. So we're going to make that match all 4 of those words to each one of our finger tappings, and we'll work through it in a practice round a few times. Peace, pinky finger and thumb, begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. So 2 things at one time for our brain to do. It is a challenge. But can I be present in the challenge of this without being harsh on myself? Anytime that I mess up or things kind of get off track a little bit, you can just start over with no hard feelings and no shame along the way. We'll take a moment. We'll do a few rounds saying that phrase out loud. We'll do a few rounds saying that phrase quietly. And then we'll do a few rounds saying that phrase silently to ourselves. So wherever you're seated, make yourself comfortable. You can rest your palms on your lap, facing up. And we'll just start together with a few rounds of saying this out loud, fingers touching on each word. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Now whispering. Peace begins with me. 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 And now we'll do it silently. You might close your eyes or just drop your eyes down to look at the floor below, but just a few rounds silently in the radio of your mind. If your attention gets distracted, you can just start over at any time. And just one more round through those words. As you finish your last round, interlace your fingers to the webbing, rest your knuckles lightly in your lap. And just for a moment, we'll pause and breathe softly in the silence and the stillness of the after effects of that yoga practice and the words that we said together. You might invite your body to soften, your face to come to a more easeful, restful position. And on your next inhale, with a big breath in, stretch your arms up overhead and reach up, stretch up through your fingertips. Exhale, bring your hands all the way back down through center. And just for a moment, start to rub your hands together until your hands get warm enough from the friction of the rubbing, like we could start a little fire in the woods. Yeah, a little hot hand here. A little faster and faster yet. And then closing your eyes, cup your palms over your eyelids, blink a few times. Notice the heat from your hands. And exhale and gently release. It's so good to practice together. It's so good to be in community, a community of people who understand the things that you're going through. So often people join the cognitive empowerment program and they've been thinking for a long time after a diagnosis of memory loss or memory challenge, why me? Why now? Nobody can possibly understand. And what we're here to do is bring together an online group of people that really do understand, to affirm that you're not alone in this journey, and that there are so many ways for us to tap into what we are capable of, how resilient that we are, and continue to find joy in the things in our life that we have always found joy from, whether that's in the same way we used to or finding a new way to relate after a big diagnosis. So thank you all so much for being a part of this community.